Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. I've got a great response to my watercolor tutorials that I have uploaded over the last week. I have 2 watercolor tutorials on my YouTube channel, but I wanted to do a quick video just to answer some of the questions that people have asked regarding those videos. The first question that I get quite a bit is, what paper do I use? I tend to use 140-pound cold press paper. There are a lot of good brands out there. If you're just starting out, you could buy a set of watercolor cards. That's what I did the 2 video tutorials on, just Strathmore cold press 140-pound watercolor cards. You can get a package of 22 cards and envelopes for about, 100 cards and envelopes for 22 bucks at dickblick.com. That's Blick Art Materials, and they are actually my favorite shop to recommend for people that are looking for inexpensive art supplies. I'm not affiliated with them or anything, but they often have like 20% off coupon codes and free shipping if you spend 100 bucks and a lot of stuff like that. But the thing I really like is that you can call and talk to a person that actually knows stuff about the products that they're selling. You don't get that at the other discount art supply stores. Cheap Joe's Art Stuff is also good. Jerry's Artorama has really cheap supplies. I've never had to call them and ask them anything, so I'm not sure about the customer service, but I've ordered from them before. Okay, my palette. The general palette that I use most of the time is a large palette with wells in that. And I have this big area in the middle to mix. I also use a lot of non-painting stuff when I'm painting. Here's a sea sponge that I've just torn off a bigger one to use. I use cut up credit cards. I use bundles of elastics that I've tied together that I can pounce on and make different marks. So I use old toothbrushes a lot for spattering, and I have a new tutorial in my shop that uses an old toothbrush for spattering. I use painter's tape. I always have 2 buckets of water when I paint, unless I'm using my water brush, because I like to have 1 bucket to clean my brush off with and another bucket of water to pick up fresh new paint to paint with, so that my paintings stay really bright and fresh and clear. As far as paper brands, well, there's a lot of really good brands. The one I use the most is Arches 140-pound natural. And you can get that in sheets or in blocks. Now, a block is like a pad, but it's bound on all 4 edges, and there's a little gap in the back that you can slide a knife under, and you can separate that from the top of all the other sheets, and then you have a nice fresh sheet underneath. So you pay a little bit more for that feature, but it's very convenient. And this is an Arches 10 by 14 block. You can get this in different sizes and by different brands, and this tends to be pricey, but I did see it at AC Moore. That means you can use a coupon, so instead of paying 26 bucks, you get it for 13. That would be nice. Another brand that I like that also offers blocks is Canton Marvel, and this I've only, I think I did see it at AC Moore, but I've ordered mine online, and it's quite affordable. And again, you have it's bound on all 4 sides, and you have a spot where you can slide your knife in and cut it off. And you can get this in whatever size you like, pretty much. They even make little kind of postcard sized ones. It's really quite handy. I also buy my paper in the sheets, and then what I do is I'll tear it up. Like this is I put it in a file folder. I tear it up into different sized sheets, and I stick it in my filing cabinet. This is Aquarius 2, which is a blend of a cotton and synthetic paper, so it doesn't warp very much. It's just a different type of texture. Sometimes I like really rough paper. There's a great handmade paper called Nunjabi, and it's super rough and just a really fun surface to paint on. I will keep that torn into small pieces in my filing cabinet with a little label on the filing folder. And then when that gets empty, then I go upstairs where I store my big flat sheets of paper under my bed in a big flat file, and I just tear up another sheet and put it in the folder, and I'm good to go. So that way I have my inventory down here, but I don't have to risk keeping my nice watercolor paper in my basement, which, sometimes can be a little damp. I don't want to risk the investment of watercolor paper. Watercolor paper can be quite expensive. You could spend on a sheet is generally 22 inches by 30 inches, and you can spend at an art supply store $8 and more and above for a sheet of paper. If you're buying 300 sheet paper, 300-pound sheet paper, it's going to cost about 40 to 80% more than a regular 140 sheet paper, but it's really handy if you're doing really big pieces because you don't want your paper to warp. But the savings of ordering it online at a site like Dick Blick or Jerry's Artorama or Cheap Joe's could be about, you know, $4 a sheet. I paid usually around $2 a sheet for all my watercolor paper that I ordered online, or less in some cases, where it costs $6 to $10 in your art supply store. That said, you often have to buy like 10 or more sheets in order to get that price. So if you don't know what you want, you're better off to go to the art supply store, try a few sheets and see what you like. I always think it's a good idea to spend your money on your paper and spend your money on your brushes. If you have a limited amount of money you can invest, money should go to your brushes and your paper. Now, speaking of brushes, I want to show you my favorite watercolor brushes. I like brushes that have acrylic handles. These are plastic and they have a scraper end on the back. Can you see that? If I hold my hand up like that. So it's pointy, and I use that to scrape, I can show you on this. I use it to scrape details, like I did on the bird's nest tutorial that's free on my YouTube channel. I use it to scrape details like tree trunks and grasses and stuff like that. And it's a great little tool, or you can use a cut up piece of credit card or a toothpick if you don't have that, but I'm telling you, right on the end of your brush, pretty darn handy, and it doesn't cost any more for this feature. The other thing I like about the acrylic handle is that if you're a dingbat like me and you leave your brush sitting in your water overnight, you're not going to split the paint. I'm sure I have a brush in here with split paint on it. Look at that, right? Didn't have to look very far. It's because I left the paint in the, I left the brush in the water. So sometimes you'll go and you'll see brushes, and you'll see some with long handles. You don't want long-handled brushes for watercoloring generally, because you're not standing at an easel. Your long-handled brushes are great for standing at an easel where you want to stand back and review your painting and, you know, kind of paint from back here. When you're watercoloring, your paper is generally flat and you're generally sitting over it and you're painting like that, so you want your shorter-handled brushes. You'll notice the long-handled brushes don't have the scraper back. This is a Majestic, Royal Brush Company Majestic brush. I really like this brand. I've had this brush for probably about 15 years. I bought it when it first came out. I ordered it from the back of a magazine from an ad. Now you can find these at like AC Moore, Michael's. You can use a coupon, or they go on sale all the time. I really recommend this, and I recommend the Aqualon brush, also by Royal Langnickel. I think the Majestic might hold a little bit more water and comes to a sharper point, but they're both fabulous brushes, so you can't go wrong with either of those. My first watercolor brush that I still have, I don't know if it's in this bucket or in my watercoloring box, but it cost 20 bucks. It was a a half-inch flat brush. I think it's in my other box, and it was 20 bucks in 1983. I still have that brush. It still works great. So your brushes can last you years and years and years, if not a lifetime, if you take care of them. Taking care of them means not using this to touch up the trim in your house. You don't let your kids use this to paint with acrylics. You don't let your husband use this to paint his woodworking projects. You guard them under lock and key and you use them for watercolors only. And then really all you need to do to clean them is to swish in your clean water bucket, or sometimes you need to use some mild detergent. If it does get really stained, some colors stain quite a bit, you can use a little brush cleaner. I like the Masters brand brush cleaner. It works great. It even works good if you have old brushes with oil paint or acrylic paint dried in them. I've been able to get oil paint brushes completely back to life with that cleaner, and I've been able to get acrylic brushes back in pretty good working order between using rubbing alcohol and the brush cleaner to bring them back. But don't use your watercolor brushes for anything else. Sometimes you want to have like an old scrubby brush to lift designs out of your watercolor. You can use acrylic brushes with your watercolor. You can even use oil if you want to, but you might get some residue on your paper. But never use your watercolors with any of those other mediums, because otherwise they'll last you forever. So take care of those brushes. I have more than I'll probably ever use, but it's an addicting habit collecting those watercolor brushes. I think that pretty much addresses the questions that I've been asked over the last couple tutorials. If you have a question, leave it below and I will make sure that I answer it in an upcoming tutorial, or maybe just do another little Q&A quickie like this, just to get those questions out there and answered. I think that's it. Oh, I had another question about the water brushes that I was using on the egg tutorial, and I have some of them right here. I know they're the clear ones. These I got at I got them at Art Supply Warehouse, but they've changed their website. Jerry's Artorama is their sister site, and it's easier to order from, and they've got a set of 4. It would be these 3 plus one more, 3 different sized rounds, and a flat. I don't know where my flat went. That's weird because I don't think I've ever used it either. It took a crafty adventure somewhere in my studio. I have no idea where it is. But anyways, you get these 3 different sizes of rounds, and you get a flat, and it's on sale for 10 bucks. They generally are about 10 bucks each, so that's a heck of a deal at Jerry's Artorama. I think I put the link on one of my videos, but maybe I'll put the link under here, under this video, in the video description as well. I'll also put a link to my watercolor basics tutorial, which kind of goes in depth about all your supplies, mixing colors, what colors to have, and all that stuff, because I don't need to repeat it here. But I just wanted to get on there, answer those few questions. If you have any requests for certain tutorials you'd like to see, the quick 20-minute version, then I'd be happy to whip some of those up for you. Just leave a comment and let me know what you think. Well, that's it. Oh, one more thing. Had to share this. I was out jogging the other day. I know, hard to believe, but I came across this awesome shelf. It's free on the side of the road. Free! Can you believe it? Free! And so I brought it home and I put some tassel trim on it and some ribbons and washed it up, and I'm so happy. I love free stuff on the side of the road. Okay, that's it really. I have nothing else to say. So thanks for tuning in, and until next time, happy crafting.